That wave is a good 15, 20 feet tall. Easy. Get in, get in, get in!
It's hard to imagine the force that something like a tsunami wave has, and the absolute destruction that it can just wreak. I think the thing with the tsunami was the scale was off the charts. The effect over so many countries and so many communities, we'll never know the true death toll. But I saw areas where bodies were stacked up like firewood.
I say, Mama, Mama, running, water coming, coming, water start coming, follow me. Like, we start to run. But I think some people, they don't believe because we never happened that before. In our life, we never happened, no earthquake, nothing, like, we don't know that.
The Boxing Day tsunami was on a scale never witnessed before. Generated by a colossal 9.1 magnitude earthquake centred off Indonesia's Banda Aceh, tsunami waves up to 30 metres high decimated coastal areas in 14 countries. At least 250,000 people died.
We walk up to viewpoint, but on the way we can see people die. Many die around.
Alex Snary, who was an aid worker for World Vision, was deployed to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands near the quake epicentre the day after it hit 20 years ago today. He says the first village he arrived at was unrecognisable.
It really looked like a rubbish dump, like things that had just been tossed aside. And then I asked the guys, I said, oh, how much longer till we get to the actual village? And they said, well, what do you mean? This is the village. This is the centre square of the village. And it was just total devastation. There was nothing that survived.
Amid such total destruction as you described, you must have met a lot of people who had nothing left, no home, and in some cases, no family members.
Absolutely. It's hard to imagine what it's like to lose your entire life.
He says the immediate impact on children was significant.
The kids were shut down. They would sit there quiet. You know, kids laugh and play, and that naturally, these kids wouldn't. They were silent. They would sit with their back to the ocean.
They wouldn't look at the sea.
They didn't want to see the sea. You know, the horror of what they'd been through was too much.
Your last appointment was 2017?
Yeah, 2018 was when...
He says he met one man who survived with his daughter, but his other daughter, his wife, and both his parents perished in the flooding.
It's just hard to imagine what that's like, how in an instant your life can just be turned upside down.
But amid the suffering, he also witnessed extraordinary resilience.
As the one guy said to me, he said, I've lost everything. There's only my daughter remains and the lungi that I'm wearing. That's all I have in this world. So I can't afford to lose my faith. I can't afford to lose my hope for the future.
Did it teach you a lot about the strength of the human spirit to see how people stood up to such immense loss?
Yeah, definitely. There is something within us that refuses to give up, no matter how hard it gets.
He puts that down to multiple factors: people's religious beliefs, the sheer grit of humankind, and of course, the support he and his team provided.
The worst you can do for somebody is to make them feel like a victim and there's nothing they can do, and just say sit in that corner and do nothing. You know, it's much better to engage and work together. Feel there's an empowerment in that process.
And was there a willingness from people to do that?
Absolutely.
Despite what they'd lost?
And that's the amazing thing.
Right?
Like, it just staggered me. because you always think, oh, how would I do in such a situation? I think the thing that was so critical was that you had this massive impact, and then on the other hand you had this massive outpouring of generosity across nations like New Zealand, and that enabled us to get in quickly and mitigate some of the worst impact, and to literally rebuild when there was nothing left.
In New Zealand alone, more than $26 million was raised in donations by various aid agencies. World Vision staff rebuilt thousands of homes, over 100 schools, and led special projects like replanting mangroves in coastal areas. For Snary, his time on the ground ended up being just as much about learning as it was about helping.
So often we go to these places and we think we're the ones going there to help, but often we're the ones who learn along the way as well from people who can teach us in the midst of crisis, you know, what it is to be strong, to have faith, and not give up. Not give up. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see.